Hi, today I want to discuss the first piece of literature that advocated anarchism that I read. This was particularly insightful to me and sort of guided my philosophy from about 6 or 7 years back. It's called Anarchy, a pamphlet. It's by Errico Malatesta. I'm going to read the first 7 or 8 paragraphs, and I'll send you a link so you can read the rest if you so choose. But I think the intro to it is a really good explanation of where anarchism is coming from, what anarchism is, what it advocates, and so here we go. Anarchy, a pamphlet by Errico Malatesta. Anarchy is a word that comes from the Greek and signifies, strictly speaking, without government, the state of a people without any constituted authority. Before such an organization had begun to be considered possible and desirable by a whole class of thinkers, so as to be taken as the aim of a movement, which has now become one of the most important factors in modern social welfare, the word anarchy was used universally in the sense of disorder and confusion, and it is still adopted in that sense by the ignorant and by adversaries interested in distorting the truth. We shall not enter into philological discussions, for the question is not philological but historical. The common interpretation of the word does not misconceive its true etymological signification, but is derived from it, owing to the prejudice that government must be a necessity of the organization of social life, and that consequently a society without government must be given up to disorder, and oscillate between the unbridled dominion of some and the blind vengeance of others. The existence of this prejudice and its influence on the meaning of the public has given to the word the meaning that the public has given to the word is easily explained. Man, like all living things, adapts himself to the conditions in which he lives, and transmits by inheritance his acquired habits. Thus, being born and having lived in bondage, being the descendant of a long line of slaves, man, when he began to think, believed that slavery was an essential condition of life, and liberty seemed to him impossible. In like manner, the workman, forced for centuries to depend upon the goodwill of his employer for work, that is, for bread, and accustomed to see his own life at the disposal of those who possess land and capital, has ended in believing that it is his master who gives him food, and asks ingenuously, how it would be possible to live if there were no master? How would it be possible to live if there were no master over him? In the same way, a man whose limbs had been bound from birth, but who had nevertheless found out how to hobble about, might attribute to the very bands that bound him his ability to move, while on the contrary they would diminish and paralyze the muscular energy of his limbs. If then we added the natural effect of habit, the education given to him by his master, the parson, teacher, etc., who are all interested in teaching that the employer and the government are necessary, if we add the judge and the policeman who force those who think differently, and might try to propagate their opinion, to keep silence, we shall understand how the prejudice as to the utility and necessity of masters and governments has become established. Suppose a doctor brought forward a complete theory with 1,000 ably invented illustrations to persuade a man with bound limbs that if his limbs were freed he could not walk or even live. The man would defend his bands furiously and consider anyone his enemy who tried to tear them off. Thus, it is believed that government is necessary, and that without government there must be disorder and confusion. It is natural and logical to suppose that anarchy, which signifies the absence of government, must also mean the absence of order. Nor is this fact without parallel in the history of words. In those epochs and countries where people have considered government by one man, a monarchy, necessary, the word republic, that is, the government of many, has been used precisely like anarchy to imply disorder and confusion. Traces of this meaning of the word are still to be found in popular languages of almost all countries. When this opinion is changed, and the public are convinced that government is not necessary but extremely harmful, the word anarchy, precisely because it signifies without government, will become equal to saying natural order, harmony of needs and interests of all, complete liberty with complete solidarity. Therefore, those are wrong who say that anarchists have chosen their name badly, because it is erroneously understood by the masses and leads to a false interpretation. The error does not come from the word, but from the thing. The difficulty which anarchists meet in spreading their views does not depend upon the name they have given themselves, but upon the fact that their conceptions strike as all inveterate prejudices which people have about the function of government, or the state as it is called. Before proceeding further, it will be well to explain this last word, the state, which in our opinion is the real cause of much misunderstanding. Anarchists generally make use of the word state to mean all the collection of institutions, political, legislative, judicial, military, financial, etc., by means of which management of their affairs, the guidance of their personal conduct, and the care of ensuring their own safety are taken from the people and confided to certain individuals, and these, whether by usurpation or delegation, are invested with the right to make laws over and for all, and to constrain the public to respect them, making use of the collective force of the community to this end. In this word, the state means government, or if you like, it is the abstract expression of which government is the personification. Then such expression as abolition of the state, or society without a state, agree perfectly with the conception which anarchists wish to express of the destruction of every political institution based on authority, and of the constitution of a free and equal society, based upon harmony of interests, and the voluntary contribution of all to the satisfaction of social needs. However, the word state has many other meanings, and among these, some that lend themselves to misconstruction, particularly when used among men whose sad social position has not afforded them leisure to become accustomed to the subtle distinction of scientific language, or still worse, when adopted treacherously by adversaries, who are interested in confounding the sense, or do not wish to comprehend it. Thus, the word state is often used to indicate any given society or collection of human beings united on a given territory and constituting what is called a social unit, independently of the way in which members of the holy group, or of the said body group, are grouped, or of the relations existing between them. Oh, I fucked that up. State is also used simply as a synonym for society. Owing to these meanings of the word, our adversaries believe, or rather profess to believe, that anarchists wish to abolish every social relation and all collective work, and to reduce man to a condition of isolation, that is, to a state worse than savagery. By state, again, is meant only in the supreme administration of a country, the central power, as distinct from provincial or communal power, and therefore others think that anarchists wish merely for a territorial decentralization, leaving the principle of government intact and thus confounding anarchy with canonical or communal government. Finally, state signifies condition, mode of living, the order of social life, etc. And therefore, we say, for example, that it is necessary to change the economic state of the working classes, or that the anarchic state is the only state founded on the principles of solidarity, and other similar phrases. So that if we were to say in another sense that we wish to abolish the state, we may at once appear absurd or contradictory. For these reasons, we believe it would be better to use the expression abolition of the state as little as possible, and to substitute it for another clearer and more concrete abolition of government. The latter will be the expression used in the course of this essay. That is about so that's about a third of the way through the pamphlet. It's a nice quick pamphlet to read, and it discusses like the reasons for the existence of the government, what the excuses are for it. So it's actually really, really good. I'd recommend anybody read this if you have 10 minutes of spare time on your hands. I'm going to post the link to this pamphlet so you don't have to go searching for it. On the Anarchy archives, there's a whole bunch of different works from well-known and lesser known anarchists. But yeah, just let me know if you have any questions. I'm willing to answer them, and thank you. Bye.